heard the teacher saying something, but could not make out what she said. At this point, I was so scared to even turn back and ask. The only thing I wanted to do was to go back home. I quickly made my way out of the door and started down the hallway. The floorboards made so much noise when I ran, so it made me resort to walking at a normal pace, my heart pounding in my chest. I still remember the dream very vividly, to the point that I doubted it was a dream. I took in a deep breath. I could still smell the stench of decay and rotten flesh. I closed my eyes for more than 1 second, and I could still picture those terrifying-looking creatures in my mind. "I just want to go home," I said as I continued walking down the hallway. That was when I heard it, the floorboard creaking behind me. I turned immediately, but fortunately nobody was there. However, for some reason, this realization made me more terrified than relieved. I took a deep breath again, turned back to continue walking out of the school. "It's all in my head, it's all in my head," I whispered desperately as I continued walking. After a few moments of walking, I then relaxed and took my time to listen for any other sounds. Luckily, there was none. I heaved a huge sigh of relief and started walking again. That was when I heard it again. This time, it could not be mistaken. Someone or something was stalking me. I took 2 more steps, and the entity behind me did so as well. Adrenaline started pumping into my blood, and I knew that I'd have to outrun whoever or whatever was behind me. "Who are you?" I asked, my back still turned to the undefined stalker. I got no answer, and this fazed me. "Are you a student or staff?" I asked further as I realized it might just be a janitor who was just going about their duties. When I got no reply again, I got more frightened. "Why are you not saying anything?" I probed further with my voice visibly shaking now. I started turning back slowly when I still didn't get an answer. It was at this moment that I heard it. While I was turning back, I realized that the undefined creature behind me was breathing heavily. "No, it's growling." I corrected myself. My sense of smell picked up a deep stench of decay oozing from behind me. This made my heart race faster. All my senses of logic and rationality were almost gone. I was transfixed, and this is the only thing that still kept me from acting on my intrusive thoughts. When I turned, I could not make out the undefined stalker, but I could definitely see a pair of white eyeballs staring at me. His jaws were completely unhinged and hanging loosely from its mouth with unnaturally long teeth. It was drooling what looked like a mixture of blood and saliva. My heart left my chest, and in frantic, I ran. Soon enough, I found an open classroom and quickly made my way inside. Swiftly, I shut the door behind me and placed a locker behind it for extra measure. "Everything is okay now, it cannot get to me here," I said while panting as I tried to comfort myself. When I had started relaxing and the effects of the adrenaline started draining, I began to notice my surroundings. The first thing I observed was that the classroom did not feel like a conventional one. Right in the middle of the classroom was a mirror. Because of where I stood, I faced the back of the mirror. Something in me told me to run, but the curious cat in me already made my legs start moving to the face of the mirror. Instead of my reflection on the mirror, I saw a classroom full of seated students staring back at me. I instantly got terrified at this realization. The logical part of my brain made it out to be a painting. "No, this is not a painting," I rebutted as I noticed the students were indeed moving. Their eyes were blinking, and at one point, they were talking to each other. In hopes of finding a logical explanation for this, I immediately went round the back of the object in hopes of finding wires, but unfortunately, there were none. When I doubled back, I discovered that the mirror was now normal. When I glanced at the mirror this time, I saw my reflection, a fleeting image of myself, pale and strained. I looked on at my reflection, but then it shifted. The reflection wasn't mine anymore. It was that of the students again. This time they were not seated. Their eyes, once normal, were now white pits devoid of life. A cruel smirk twisted their lips, a horrifying parody of my own. Panic clawed at my throat. I stumbled back, my heart hammering against my ribs. Suddenly, they moved towards me with deliberate effort. I cleaned my eyes to make sure I wasn't dreaming. When I opened them, I realized that they had leaned closer, and their unnatural smirks widened. The glass seemed to ripple, their image becoming more distorted, more monstrous. Petrified, I saw rows of teeth, sharp and jagged, bared in silent snarls. Then finally, the glass cracked. I ran straight to the door, removed the lockers, and opened it. Luckily, I was fast enough. As soon as I shut the door behind me, I could hear chatters from still behind the door. Feeling an ounce of safety, I continued running down the hallway, choosing to ignore the strange symbols etched into the walls, ones I had never seen before. "This place is cursed," I muttered under my breath as I continued running. I got to the main exit and felt so happy. However, this was short-lived as I found it to be locked. Am I trapped in here forever? Will I end up just like those kids in the mirror? These thoughts screamed in my head. Just as I was about to slump down into depression and hopelessness, I heard a voice behind me. "Oh, you are still here?" When I turned back, I quickly realized it was the eerie teacher from earlier, and I immediately became happy. She was the only rational being I had met in this damned place. "Don't worry, you're safe now," she said. Her grin grew suspiciously and unnaturally wide. However, it happened in an instant, and I waved it off as a trick. But wait, don't worry, you're safe now. How did she know I was in danger? Find out in next episode of Horror City School next week. Subscribe and turn on your notifications for more.